Watch me now. Watch me now. Watch me now.
Effectively, Nova has to try to come apart. Peebo! He's just watching.
I just get it done. Everybody talk. I just get it done.
Esports Women's League. We're on the forefront of the ANZ Rainbow Six competitive season. My name is Blue Panda. Joining me on the mic tonight, of course, it is my wonderful friend and co-caster, Cthulhu. Now, we've got two other gentlemen that are joining the main broadcast team. They're going to be on next week, of course, that being Proto and Spadoom. So right now, it's all us. We're all in it. Cthulhu, big stuff already been announced this year. New changes, new revamps, new maps coming into the pool. How excited are we for the 2022 season?
Look, absolutely excited for all of this. It's been an absolutely stunning set of changes, really, from all the camera changes to the balancing changes to the introduction of Azami to the attacker repick as well, which changes the playfield quite substantially. There's plethora of other changes as well coming up, but obviously didn't remember all of the patch notes. But honestly, look, new changes, new just ways of playing the game.
Demon Vale, definitely, it's an exciting new horizon. And speaking of demons, let's have a look at the teams that are competing, of course, here in Season 7 of the XP Esports Women's League. 8 teams looking to duke it out. We've got Big Brain Esports, Vertex, new to the competition, Volpez Gaming, Radical Rebels, returning Warriors. Hey, look, they've come back hot off the back of that victory in Season 6. Triari, Benchwarmers, and Altered, some new faces, some old familiar faces. But on the whole, a very, very exciting competition for us.
Absolutely, yeah. Some of the more returning names as well coming about, so could be the grand time for some of the newer rosters to finally claim their victory. Obviously, the whole ever so large story of Warriors kind of returning back to continue their absolutely dominant run that they had last year. And Vertex, as production also notified us, were the season 1 winners, but obviously now returning under a different name. They also could be, posed to bring themselves back into the playing field and will get themselves sorted with the first place win.
Well, it's about what they're playing for. Obviously, we've got 8 teams here. We've got them here for a reason. The money behind the bag, of course. $3,000 in total up for grabs, same as last season, with first place taking away half of it, $1,500. Second place gets $1,000. Third place walks away with $500. And newly added, fourth place gets themselves some R6 credits as well. So if you make it into playoffs, you're not walking away empty-handed.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a good way to really keep up the incentive as well, and a perfect way to just keep the teams, well, wanting to push that as much as they can. Obviously, making the playoffs has been already quite a big dream, and for quite a lot of rosters, they did manage to make it to the playoffs, and that's where all the actual serious gameplay has begun for quite a fair few of them. So, look, going into this one, I'm expecting a lot of initial uncertainty on the leaderboard, which would introduce us with a really, really good possibility for new storylines.
And look, it's not the only thing that is up for grabs this season. We've got a couple of things that you can pick yourselves up. A newly added weekly best play, which is going to be available each week. Obviously, we've got nothing prepared just yet, but the winner will receive a R6 chibi as well. And make sure you're getting your clips up there. Send it through. Tag at XP Women's League as well, our new Twitter home, so we can get those clips up and ready each week. And then from there, it's not it at all. We've got our season MVP prize, ZQ Racing, once again on board, sponsoring that. And I mean, look, Cthulhu, we all know you got to start with the fundamentals, the basics. A good gaming chair makes for a good player.
Absolutely, yeah. For all the posture checks, for all the crazy frags, for pretty much everything, the new chair does make it a huge, huge difference. So, yeah, shout out to our wonderful friends at ZQ Racing for yet again getting on board. And look, keen to see who will be the winner of this season as well.
Look, we've had some pretty phenomenal MVPs pick up that prize already. And coming into it, let's have a look at some of those potential winners of the MVP prize. Our matches for this evening, of course, On the mainstream, it's going to be Volpez versus Triari and Radical Rebels taking on last season's winners, the Vodafone Warriors, of course, in our second match of the evening. I mean, look, I could not think of a better way to start off the season.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, keen to see how will Volpez will be able to return to the season and see how they will perform for against especially Triari, a freshly introduced roster to the Women's League as well. For Radical Rebels versus Warriors, look, it's going to be a bit of a rough one. I'll say this right here, right now. But Warriors, given the roster that they've announced, has quite a fair bit of flexibility to it as well. So curious to see how will they perform during this season, given that on them it's a whole kind of new challenge to keep up their championship.
I mean, look, not only that, but some of the names that are returning, old Crips T, the Crips walking tarantula herself, coming in from that coaching role now into a playing role. She's looking to get back into the competitive scene. She hit me up in the DM. She said, look, I'm ready to go. I'm raring. Give me your best tonight. And I said, only if you do as well. So there is a good chance that pressure might get to her. So hopefully she can, level-headed, keep yourself in the game, keep the game going. And speaking of game, let's get on into match one. Of course, Volpez versus Triari coming into this matchup. Some familiar names, like we said earlier. Sporky, Toki, Evie Nuggets, a newer name to the competition, has seen a little bit of play, but not nearly as much as some of these other players. Angry Wolf, of course, and Jessenox with Azumi sitting there in the sub position.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, a team that is quite able, has quite a fair bit of potential in them, but during the last couple of seasons, just came short of getting to the playoffs bracket, I believe. But overall, a very able team, and genuinely quite keen to see how will they perform in this season as well, and how will they fare on the leaderboard.
And their opponents, of course, this evening, newly added to the competition, made up of some of the former players from the last couple of seasons, plus some new ones as well. Triari Esports ticked off Ice, Amber, McGubbins, and Queen Alex, with Toad stepping into play as a sub tonight. I believe ticked off isn't going to be able to make the match, so it will be a sub starting in this first matchup. Oh, she is playing. Okay, there we go. I've just had confirmation from production. Ticked off is playing. There was mention of potential sub, but no, this is the 5-player roster that we'll be seeing tonight. And I mean, they've got a lot to prove coming to this competition, especially going up against a team that has had as historical a run as Volpez.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, for Triari, it is going to be a little bit more of a easier run, I would imagine, given the fact, fresher name, not as much of a set of expectations as for some of the returning teams. So obviously for them, they have the advantage of being that kind of that dark horse within the competition that could really introduce a little bit of a interesting element of surprise that could be able to obviously show us some fresh new moves. But with under the lead of TikTok, well, I'm keen to see what could Triari really bring out onto the field.
And speaking of fresh new moves for the new season, came a new change to the competitive map pool, Cthulhu. No longer stuck at 7. We have 9 maps in the pool. Coastline is out. Border, Theme Park, and Skyscraper in. Unfortunately, they were also our first 3 maps banned for the ban phase. In fact, we had our 4 newest maps banned out in the first 4 maps. We get all the way through. It is going to be Villa with Chalet and Oregon that could have been left in the map pool. It's Villa. It's a staple. It's very strategic heavy. It's a go-to in the ANZ region.
Yeah, look, at this point, Villa kind of ended up blending itself really, really well into the APAC meta. It's one of those maps that, whilst it doesn't compete as much in the frequency of the picks as, say, something like Oregon, Clubhouse, and Chalet, Villa is the next one on the list usually, and it's one of those maps that does allow quite a flexible amount of, or rather, quite a different amount of strats to be played, a few good variations on the anchor and the roaming setup. So, look, I'm curious to see what both of the rosters will be able to bring out here, given just the plus the fact that Thorn is finally in the fray as well, I believe. So with her on board, maybe a little bit more of a lean into the trap meta could be introduced here.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got Thorn out of quarantine, so she's going to be in play. You've also I've completely spaced on his name as well. The one before Thorn, that's the Shield lady.
Yep.
Also, Osa, that's the one.
Osa.
I knew it, but I forgot it for a moment. But yeah, so 2 reasonably new operators in the pool. We've seen a bit of what Osa is capable of through that off-season, through some of the relegations and promotion matches. Now we get to see Thorn. Thorn, she's a different beast. She plays with that trap meta. I mean, we've seen it paired with the likes of a Malusi, with the likes of a Clash. That's a terrifying prospect. You talk about the meat grinder meta that we've seen previously. literally the epitomization of a meat grinder. And especially on a map like Villa, where you do have those choke points and those positions that you can funnel attackers through. If we played well, this could get pretty brutal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Say pair it's say Thorn with something like a Legion to completely not allow to run away. You pretty much stuck in a between a rock and a hard place, really, if you're an attacker. So yeah, quite a whole lot of good synergy points that could be executed there. But I suppose we'll have to see, because Villa is one of those maps that you can play in the quote-unquote old metas, you can play in the new meta, and both of the ways could really be practiced rather thoroughly here.
Well, there's a lot that could come out of this matchup. Of course, it's week 1. You want to start the season strong. You want to get those points on the board early. So hopefully we are going to be getting into it just in a moment. We have confirmation. The map flyover heading on into the map. Well, hopefully Nuttery will get things going on the observer side of things so we can get that underway. But look, I mean, we're going to Villa. We're seeing Volpez and Triari taking to the field. Cthulhu. Early predictions with the changes that have been made.
Ooh, I'm tempted to incline that this could be a bit of a 7-5 game out here, but to whom it will go, into which hands, I'm a little bit still on the fence, because both Volpez and Triari could really take it here, but Volpez, on paper, do have way more experience in Women's League, so theoretically they should be the ones to really take away the dub here. But on the side of Triari, look, they have all the surprises and all the aces up their sleeves, so it's up to them to really bring the upset here.
And I mean, with the changes, I mean, the defensive, heavy meta, which has been the play, defensive side of win rate was the favoured side for most teams. You're looking at, a minimum 55% defender side of win rate on the majority of maps. Now we've got attacker repick. Now we've had the changes to external cams. How heavily do you think that's going to be influenced?
Look, I'm thinking it certainly will allow a little bit more flexibility for the attackers. It will shift the whole delta of win rate for the attack a whole lot more in favor of the attack, just purely for the fact that once you get to finally see what's happening, what's going on, you can actually switch things around and change things accordingly if you have a very well organized roster, because amidst all the chaos of communications, things could get lost in the sauce, and from there on it could be just flat out chaos. But I mean, we're looking at the bans so far here. Thatcher, Nomad, obviously Triari are banning out those flank watch operators, so the only real kind of solution would be either a Gridlock, who's currently not particularly meta operator, or the flank cams. And for flank cams, you need the one of the people completely concentrated on that. And with Smoke out of the equation, look, Cortari special, I suppose.
And ticked off to an extent. It is an operator that she plays very well as an anchor on defense. But, I mean, I'm so keen to see this attacker repick coming on through. The defenders no longer have the luxury of a 6th pick either. So we are going to start to see these attacking teams prioritize drone positioning. You want to get your drones in, you want to get that information, and then you can make the decision, do we need to flex off, maybe get some more soft breach, get some more flank watch, get some more hard breach. And at the moment, Evie is sticking with the Kavira right now. That is a bold pick on Villa.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, a pick of Kavira is certainly a rather interesting one, but given the fact that how big the map is and how many rotations you could do through, say, even the basement, Cav could really be a viable option here, especially on day 1 where you kind of shaking off all the rust, you're getting headfirst into all the officials. So, look, wouldn't put it past that Evie would actually be able to pull it off. So, I suppose we'll see how things will really work out for the team. But on the side of Triari, not really a whole lot of changes either. I mean, no real picks, and you did make actually a really good point as well, Panda, with the fact that the initial drone economy is going to be 10 times more important just to keep your drones alive, to make sure that you make all those calculated decisions. And, well, first round, off we go.
Well, I mean, we've already got APAC South and APAC North underway, so we've seen just that little bit of teams sticking with what they know, which is sort of how things went, traditionally last year as well. If you were confident with the lineup you're bringing, we didn't really see too many changes. You keep your drones, you then use them later on in the round. So it's going to be interesting to see whether teams do adapt from that playstyle to incorporate attacker pick, repick, or if they just stick to what they know. But already we start to see things kick off. Triari looking to go from that master bedroom across side clear. No real aggression just yet, but I'm anticipating some cheeky plays out of Eevee right now.
Yeah, theoretically, Eevee's play should come into the full swing of things once the kind of the midway between the trophy station and statuary and the actual site will be in full swing for the attack. So maybe at that point, this is where the Cav will be able to make the play. At the moment, that duo hold could be big, but Sporky, that is rather unfortunate what happened there. And already for Toki as well, this is looking rather dire.
Pink's coming through. She's going to escape for now. Gets herself down 90. We did see. Oh, no. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a bait by the Yokai drone, but it's a trade both ways. Eevee finds the kill on it, ticked off with that Louison pistol kill before going down herself. So it does ultimately fall in favor of Triari in the trade game.
Absolutely. Well, in the 3v4, it's still a rather workable situation. Toki, though, being barely on any HP would mean that any further gunfights could result in a bit of a ultimate demise, and, fingers crossed that Angry will be able to make it work.
Already we are experiencing the new season in full force. Audio is in the bin. Unfortunately, yeah, there's been a bit of a bug with Echo, and we're now finding that Toki does find the kill onto Queen Alex, taking it down to that 3 versus 3 situation. But Amber there to hit back McGuppins as well for a second. Triari coming in hard and fast, and they take the round in a 3-1. They leave 3 players alive and take the round for themselves. Unfortunately, just too many players overwhelm the bomb site, and they take it solidly. Big stuff to start things off.
Absolutely. Huge play from Triari. Good effort overall, and definitely doing the due diligence and just getting at least the refrags and everything. But as it stands, yeah, look, for Vulpes, few just unfortunate timings. Let's just call it that. For Sporky, look, just the timing wasn't really there. She got spotted initially, and just the pre-fire came about at the worst possible time, really, for her. So, first round jitters. Let's just call it that. Write it off at that point. For now, Vulpes do decide to bring in the very same site in hopes of being able to redeem all of the issues that came about previously. But maybe just this time it's going to be the positional difference that will be exercised here by Vulpes rather than just trying to flat out outgun Triari's what feels like a legion now.
Well, we are going to see Eevee stick with the Kavira once again. But they double down. Traps in play. Head with Jesse on the Whammy. So they've got a little bit of coverage as they double down on the site. But I mean, it was the gunplay. It was the trade game that Triari won that ended up snowballing into the round win.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things that for Triari, they were able to rather excellently be able to just swing the momentum in their favor and just absolutely thrash the opposition. And at the moment, look, I kind of still rate the pick by Eevee, but she needs to be definitely a little bit more nimble on where the push is happening when she's getting out of the push, out of the position. So we'll see how things will really work out for the Cav player. Apart from that, 90 hold instead. Barely any presence now on Trophy Statuary with Sporky roaming down below. Could really mean that the Vulpes squad is actually doing quite a fair bit of work and just trying to adjust things on the go and hoping to just stay a little bit more closer to the site so it wouldn't be as much of an isolation gameplay. But, well, we say that, that's a solid bit of damage. Shout out to the Capcan traps.
Yeah, I mean, luckily there's still a finger in play. Queen Alex has 2 more nano boosts to come in. They can keep themselves healthy for now, but it's McGuppins to open the round. Sporky found below and removed from the equation. Eevee can't do it 2 rounds in a row. Unfortunately, Amber on the job shuts it down. Vulpes find themselves in a quick 2-player deficit.
Bad, rather unfortunate. Make it a 3-player deficit at the moment. Queen Alex just absolutely thrashing through the opposition. It's all down to Toki and Angry Wolf to try to make the play here. Toki does not have the impact grenade, so won't be able to deal with the Osa player, which is going to be rather frustrating. But Toki does get the better of Amber, so at the very least there's that. Not a flawless round, but I say that 1v4 though is in play.
Head taker clean off his tick, decides to drop the shield and take the gun out instead. Ice on the ground and Angry looking to pinch in from 90 hallway. She's got 4 players now to find, as unfortunately Ice does get picked up. McGuppin's on the plant, has to swing in, looking to push through Zombie if she can, but no. Decides that 90 is probably the better play, rotating around towards Games, spots the opening into Vault. She could find 1 or 2 picks here. This could definitely put this in the realms of possibility, but there's so many angles to worry about. Ice, it's McGuppin's from behind the Thermite pushing in. Neither player goes down. This is a very tenuous position. They know where Angry is. They can call in the reinforcements. They just have to hold, and by the time McGuppins gets aggressive, and Triari will double down, pick up 2 rounds in a row.
Oh man. Oh man, oh man, oh man. So far, solid play from the attack. Oh, so I've been just notified that the pronunciation actually is supposed to be quite different as well. It's Triari. Triari.
Triari?
Triari?
Look, I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah.
It's 10:30 in the evening. First cast back of the year. You got to make do what you can.
Yeah.
Triari, though. 2 rounds up. Very solid attacks to start things off. And I don't know if I can put it solidly down to attacker repick, because we haven't seen an attacker repick yet.
Yeah, that's true. We still yet to see that and figure things out. So, curious if that is going to be used. We do actually have the UI element telling us that the swap has been done. So McGuppin swapped off the Thermite onto the Finca and the
Thermite to Finca.
Flores to Thermite. There we go. I completely blanked out on the name of Flores, but
you've had one. I've had one. We're on form.
We're kicking things off. Yeah, we're on form here. We're all good so far. But yeah, look, I'm curious to see what could have been done there should the Finca not have been picked, because Finca, as kind of weird as back, say, a couple seasons before, it would have sounded, Finca managed to wedge herself in really, really well into the meta, given the fact that she pretty much negates now at least a fraction of the damage that has been caused to the whole team without the ever so annoying recoil buff that usually comes with that boost. So definitely a much more viable operator, but completely changed role, I suppose, in that you can now be that, I suppose, aggressive support to a certain degree.
Well, at the moment, Sporky playing on the shield, looking into the master bedroom. They've decided that third time is not, in fact, the charm. Toki down below once again. The camera fighting so much information. Sporky will find the first of the round. Ticked off, removed, out on that balcony. It's exactly the sort of kill you want to be taken off. No more Osa means no more shields encroaching into the site. Sporky takes a huge amount of damage, though, but Angry is the next to fall, equalizing that player count once again.
Oh man, Amber trying to do the best of the situation to get rid of some of the utility, with Jesse Knox getting rid of yet another attacker. This is meaning even more trouble, but the swing does involve the entry to the site. But as I say that, and Waffle on about 2v2, just like that, has been pulled out of a hat. And well, Sporky barely in HP. It's all down to Toki to really do the work here. And well, right now it could be rather problematic. But quite close for Sporky. How is she alive though? That is a complete mystery to me though.
Tucked to the corner, biding her time, waiting. And Amber walks into the site. No sooner that we say that this could possibly go the way. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Queen Alex pushes on and shuts down Sporky, but it was, just sitting there, not scouted, not droned. Those mute jammers doing a huge amount of work. Unfortunately, the health disparity meant that Triari were going to be in that advantageous position. There's only so much you can get from the shadows, catching them unaware, and unfortunately, it's not enough to pick up the round.
Yeah, Triari doing a solid job so far. 3-0. Certainly looking rather promising here for them. Overall, the attack has been really well organized, and on the solo player skill so far, it's been It's been rather promising for them. Vulpes, though, unfortunately, just picked apart one by one, and haven't yet found a whole lot of response in that regard, which is a bit of a problem, but one that could be redeemed rather quickly and in a rather easy manner. So I would probably write it off once again as something that is just, rust is coming off, same as us as casters as well, something that we'll be keeping our eye on out for the future. But yeah, look, for Vulpes, maybe either a change of the approach, change of the positioning, or possibly just flat out banning the villain in the initial stages could be maybe a slightly better idea in the future, but we'll have to see how things will really work out. For Triari, I'm gonna have a brain aneurysm, I'm sorry. I rate the idea of bringing in the Osa being kind of the, I suppose, the secondary entry with their utility to be able to peek around the doorways, around the choke points, to be able to confirm the position of some of the defenders, and from there on, kind of going in for the full send. Also, another thing that another big change that came in with this season, the ability to have any kind of sights on your guns, which introduces a whole lot more flexibility and a whole lot more kind of personalization in regards to the sights choice for the guns.
So if, my biggest question has to be this Kavira pick. I do understand it, I do like it, but there are other operators that I feel probably could fill this niche just a little bit better in terms of that deep roam game, which, I mean, we've seen one kill out of it so far, and from there it's sort of been shut down at every single turn because Triari have been on the job and aware that there is this Kavira in play. So hopefully, I mean, they can find some use out of it in the remainder of the half. But if not, it could be a pick that's just taking up space.
As well, swings do keep on coming about. Some more damage is being exchanged, but thankfully it's Amber who is actually able to back up the teammate. And already McGuppin's going in for the entry. Finds one. That's Sporky gone. That's another self-frags. That's triple for Amber as well. 1v4 all of a sudden. And, well, leaving Toki with barely any of opportunities, really, against the whole legion of Triari Esports.
I mean, we've got the new play of the week here in Season 7. And I think Amber might have just sorted herself as a pretty decent contender in this competition. Toki looking for anything. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the case. A 4K for Amber to close out round 4. That's 4 on the fly, Cthulhu.
Yeah, so far so good. Clean deal for the attack, and overall feeling rather confident in their swings, which is something that has been a very worthwhile talking point, as highlighted by the previously PL player Specca. It's all 95% mental. If you have the confidence, if you have the the mental strength, you just go and swing, and, well, you will be rewarded with the dubs. I'm sure Nuttery will have a few stern words with me after that, and given my usual performances, but look, yeah, for Triari, it's looking all rather promising. For Vulpes, though, is just things are yet to take a turn for the better. Let's just call it that.
4 rounds of Kavira. Again, I think maybe like a Legion, something that can still play on that roam, something that you can play with a bit of depth on a map like Villa, but still provide some sort of utility onto the site. A Jaeger even potentially could be the play, but right now they're sticking with it. They're sticking to their guns right now. Hopefully they can see it work just a little bit more. And so apparently some ping disparities all in the same location, but round 5 well and truly underway here. Cthulhu, they're going to triple down, though. This is the 3rd time we are seeing this site in a row, which is something rarely seen in Rainbow Six competitive.
Maybe. I'm not too sure how will this actually really will work out, but continuing to keep at it with the site pick though.
Commitment
could be. Yeah, commitment. Yeah, look, commitment is one way to really call it. But yeah, if it doesn't work once, look, fine. Yeah, fair enough. There's room for adjustment. It doesn't work twice. Look, maybe time to switch things around. Work doesn't work thrice. Look, maybe stern talk about the commitment needs to be done there. But look, I'm liking
Commitment
what I'm
is
seeing
to
from
be
Ang.
admired, but there is a point where
Um,
commitment becomes a bit silly. But, I mean, they've got the option to go
Look, Angry has a
downstairs should they
point,
want to. Angry finds one. The swing onto the
Ooh.
site doesn't work. There for McGuffins as Sporky shuts it down. The best start to a round so far that we've seen out of Volpez, not for lack of trying, as Amber starts to get involved. The swing on in. It's 2 kills straight back to Triarai. Amber for a third in the round.
Ooh.
And all of a sudden, the swing is severe and in favor of the attacking side. Amber again, 2 back-to-back multi-kills in the round. Queen Alex shuts it down. Triarai with a 5th round on the fly. Something's not working, and it seems to be the second floor of Villa.
Sheesh. Yeah, Villa, look, it's certainly not feeling it right now for Volpes, and Triarai just stomping through the oppositions. It's probably the only way to really describe this. As much as one could be rooting for Volpes, unfortunately for them, today is not their day for the performance, it seems. But maybe, look, round 6 could be the one for them to really bring this back, at least make it a 5-1 scoreline, which is still rather more workable, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see with how things will really work out in the maybe second half, because maybe the attack for the Volpes will be the one to bring the majority of the points. We've seen quite a fair few times throughout a whole lot of leagues, Panda, as well. Teams just sometimes not having a good time on the defense. The moment they go into the attack and get to dictate the pacing of it, the aggression of any of sort of pushes or swings, that's where you start performing. I mean, a large part of Triarai's success needs to be addressed to Amber. I mean, you look at the scoreline, 14-2, whereas the rest of the team is sitting at 4-1, 4-2, and quite a drastic change. Let's just say that.
Yeah, look, she's 3 kills clear of the rest of her team, which is a solid achievement in its own right. Amber has just been making this G8 go absolutely huge. I mean, what, 3K in that last round, 4K in the round before, so half of her kills in 2 rounds played. It's just phenomenal stuff. IQ, I mean, it's an operator that we haven't seen a lot of as of late. I mean, IQ, it's sort of a niche pick at the moment in terms of what's being played, but who cares? Gadget isn't the main
G8?
priority here. It's the firepower.
Yeah, G8 goes brrr, and well, that's all that you really need. Well, maybe as well having the ability to spot some of the trap setups with the IQ scanner, albeit I would personally be more of a Mario enjoyer with just the ability to just flat out rush. But look, who am I to say that? For now, for Triara, this is working out rather well, and the sheer ability to approach this map from a multitude of the positions does offer a lot of possibilities and a lot of openers for the attack against Volpes. And at the moment, that is a perfect C4 setup, though.
Unfortunately, it is once again traded back. They lose Evie once again. Amber in no surprise takes Angry out of the equation. Sporky tagged up heavy. Queen Alex just surviving, and it drops Toki as well. So it effectively is a 3 versus 2. Alex preps the frag grenade, wants to confirm the kill. Could that be a kill off the pickup as well? And a frag grenade does confirm it is ticked off, finds a follow-up as well. It's down to Sporky in the 1 versus 1. It's going to be the ace clutch as Amber goes to the plant. 2 titans of their respective teams going to have to play this one out. No nitro for Sporky. She's going to relocate herself. Wants to play for a bit of a different angle, looking to push up red stairs for taps. That is exactly what is going to be happening. Time ticking away now in favor of Amber, who is currently 15-2, mind you. Over in study as well. Look at that. The relocate, the discipline, the restraint to play deeper in a position which is far more favorable for herself. And Sporky's going to go for the long rotate all the way around study. And this is time that she probably cannot afford to be wasting in this situation, Cthulhu.
Yeah, look, it's certainly gonna be a little bit tight on the timer as well. She will need to go in and directly just full on send it. Yeah, that's it. Ran out of time. Couldn't find anyone to frag out. Decides to just go it just for the heck of it at this point. And well, yeah, there's the frag. One more for Triarai and a flawless first half, which is just absolutely devastating turnout for Volpes. And man, rough times, I gotta say that.
6-0 in the first half. 1 round to close out map 1 of Season 7. And Triari are absolutely storming through this map. Villa, we questioned it. Maybe there was a lack of certainty in terms of the pick, but Triari, they have a clue. And then that clue is definitely paying off for them.
I wonder if I could get that clue as well. Look, the way how Amber so far been performing, it's just been an absolute stomping, really. Apart from that, look, Volpes do get the one more chance, basically, on the Villa to bring themselves back. It is already a match point. And look, for them, it's been rather rough. I do appreciate, though, the lineup that they have brought on board with Evie kind of continuing the whole arc of playing those flank operators, but given the success story, or rather the unsuccess story so far, it is a rather questionable choice, but I'm curious how will the Nook be executed on the attacking side of Volpes, whereas on the side of, for the rest of the roster, it's a very stable one, very solid. 2 soft breaches, 1 hard breacher, and the support/shields from Angry Wolf on the Finka. So overall, a very well stable roster to really bring out.
Target ban may have come through against Ticked Off with the smoke being removed from the board, but look, let's be honest, Tachanka, it's a linear move. It's a linear move. At the end of the day, they fulfill similar roles. Denial, they can open walls, edit sites. I mean, look, it's not a pick that is going to be missed whatsoever, I think, especially with this, setup that they're now looking to bring. Most interestingly is, of course, going to be Amber on this Oryx, though. She did a lot of damage on the IQ, and now with a mobile roamer like Oryx, I'm excited to see what more damage she can commit.
Yeah, Oryx could be a rather powerful operator, really, to be brought out here, given just the sheer amount of speed and momentum that you could accumulate whilst going for some of the rotations. It could be rather big. But Amber doesn't really get scared for contesting some of the more longer range positions, and already rotated out of trophy, now back into the trophy. Question is, who's going to be, at this point, who's going to be the first victim for all this, and already the initial peaks does come about, but to no avail, really. Neither of the parties do score themselves any.
Man, Amber wants to arc up right now. She wants to staunch up to the fight. Not going to be the case just yet. Angry position on that sanctuary door. Shots coming through. Amber's there looking for the head. Can't find it, unfortunately. And so ships passing in the night. Things will slow down once again. But Sporky there in support. Does she know that there is a player close by? Stepping up. That was almost a kill for Alex. Amber's tagged. She's going to back off for now. But it's a quick rotate towards the main stairs, and she's back in position to defend. Sporky, burning alive, forced back into trophy. That's not at all what you want if you want it. I mean, you're looking for your first round at the moment.
Yeah, struggling for even just the first round. It is rather rough here. Angry Wolf about to yeet a grenade in there. Granata pashla. Granada is good. And, well, Angry Wolf does at least manage to score at least a trade. So, all well done and dusted. Evie does get the flank frag, but albeit, well, I say flank frag, it was on the very same positions, so she did rendezvous with the rest of the team. So right now, 4v4, make it 3v3, it's actually quite workable.
Well, Ticked Off to go into town for 3 from 90. The DP27 is huge. Sporky finds the kill back, but at the cost of 3, that's not the situation you want to be in. McGuffins swings at Triari for the 7-0, starting off Season 7 with an absolute banger of a Villa.
Absolutely. Stunning performance for a first match for Triari on the Women's League season. And look, well done, well played. It's a clean deal with Amber being on the top of the leaderboard rightfully with a 16-3 start for the season. Look, nothing much to really say apart from the fact that it was just a clean deal from Triari, and really a strong start for them to get themselves straight off the bat onto the top of the leaderboard.
I mean, the most interesting thing, I think, about that last round in particular, Angry, it's an interesting way to pay for a haircut with a grenade. But at the end of the day, at least she got the trade back. Ironically, onto a Jaeger. There was no ADSs reinforcing that position. So they did get the trade. Unfortunately, that late round flank from Ticked Off with a heavy machine gun did kind of turn the odds against Volpes. Unfortunately, they aren't able to pick up a round. They get taken down. Triari, straight to the top of the leaderboard.
Absolutely. Sensational performance, and Villa becoming kind of one of those big maps for them to play around could be something to really keep an eye out for in the further weeks as well. Given that, well, maybe something to keep in mind for the map bans and the map vetoes to get rid of those big wide maps and keep them in those claustrophobic setups could be a worthwhile decision. Say something across the lines of maybe a clubhouse, maybe something like even a skyscraper to be attempted. Could be worth the time.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the coming weeks and seeing what teams are going to be going to. A lot of Villa tonight already. We know that the other match that was played off stream was also Villa, and from the sounds of things, we might have even more Villa on the horizon as well. So I'm looking those newer maps. I want to see them come into play. I want to see the likes of a skyscraper go back. Go there's a special place in my heart for Border. It was the first map that was removed from the comp pool when I started casting. So I got to cast it for like 3 weeks and then it was removed. So I'm keen to see what teams are doing on a map like that. I'm keen to see Theme Park come back. I was so annoyed when Theme Park was removed. These maps didn't quite get the run that they deserved. So now that they're back in, I'm keen for teams to take to the ground running.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, I'm keen to see all three of those new maps. I am actually, well, to a certain degree, I dread casting Skyscraper just for the sheer fact that it's, well, first time since a while, it's being reintroduced into the map pool. And for Border being changed around like the way it did, it does make it a very solid, very well competitive map. So I'm very curious how the meta will shape up on that map as well. Theme Park, yeah, absolutely. A map that definitely felt underappreciated by the competitive side of the community. So I guess second wind is being given there.
I mean, look, we know in the women's league teams will defer to what is familiar to them. So there is a possibility we don't get to see Skyscraper or Theme Park even until we get to the later stages of the season. But right now, we're going to throw it to a break. When we come back, we're going to look to carry on with the rest of Play Day 1. And, well, look, I'm excited. I'm keen to see what these teams are bringing out, especially given that we're going to be seeing what Warriors are bringing back coming into the season as well. So when we come back, it all kicks off in map number 2. We're coming back in, looking toward our second map of the evening, Cthulhu. While that's all been said and done, we've got updates from our off-broadcast matches as well, so we can get that schedule up and show you just how things have been playing out while we've been getting ready for it. Okay, we don't have the off ones, but we got an updated schedule apparently. There you go. Alex, you made it sound like we had the off broadcast. I've got the schedule updated. We're ready to go, guys. So we've got the updated score from the match that we just had on broadcast. It was a 7-0. Triare took that one out. Up next, we've got, of course, Radical Rebels taking on Season 6 winners, the Vodafone Warriors, of course, Cthulhu. This matchup, look, let's be honest. Let's call it what it is. Trial by fire.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, trial by fire is probably the best way to really describe this. It will be a rather uphill battle here for Radical Rebels. For Warriors, look, they're coming back into this. They are the champions of the previous season. Now it's their time to continue to keep on shining, or, well, maybe, well, they possibly won't. So, we'll have to wait and see. But overall, it is a very strong roster, and from what we've seen in some of the clips on the off season as well, they are a very scary one at it.
Well, look, Let's get on into it. Let's have a look at the rosters. Let's see who will be battling it out. Radical Rebels, of course, coming into this matchup. Mystique, Meep, Psycho, Spartan, and Aussie Ash. Now, the only name that I am not familiar with out of this lineup is Spartan, a new name coming into this team. But on the whole, this is a team of veterans in the Women's League.
Absolutely. A team that could really, really bring the absolute heat with MEZ, Quavize, and Allura as well being the subs. It means that, well, Radical Rebels could really find, well, all the flexible players that could possibly be there. So curious to see how will RDC really perform here. And given, well, they had plenty of time to rest, plenty of times to make new strats, well, now it's all about showing what's actually, well, being brought out in practice.
And, well, their opponents, of course, they need a little introduction, but we're going to do it anyway. It is the Vodafone Warriors, of course, coming in. They joined the league last season, Season 6. They won the whole darn thing as well. It's KT, aka the Crips walking T-Rex herself, Aussie Princess, Time for Pie, Sav Beans, Soy, AJ, and Mons in the sub role. This is, I mean, look, as close to a super team as you're going to get in the Women's League.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, KT showed us plenty of times in the previous season that she's just a very able player overall and able to just completely wreck the opposition no matter what, all thanks to some of the more high league as well experience that came through. And on top of it all, Aussie Princess, Time for Pie, Sav Beans, all a very concise roster as well that know each other's strengths and weaknesses as well. So keen to see how will they be able to perform tonight, as this is kind of going to be yet again one of those kind of debut nights for them as well.
Yeah, Keynight fans might recognize KT as well from the second most successful team that she was on, that being Altered Zelios, of course. The first most successful team being this one. I mean, look, she was a staple in that Altered Zelios roster. Without her, the team would have been nothing. Like, she was the team mum. She was also the team carry. There's only so far you can get without those two. But coming into tonight, of course, she is looking to take the field, looking to take it by storm. Much like the team itself, the rugby league team, of course, they do love to hit the field and hit the field hard. And speaking of that field, of course, Cthulhu, let's get into the map ban, see where we're going to be playing our second map of the day. We've had Villa, and now we're going to Oregon. So we are keeping it fairly vanilla here in week 1 of the Women's League Season 7. But, I mean, it's a staple. It is a go-to. It is standard for ANZ.
Absolutely, yeah. Oregon is one of those staple maps within APAC in general, and the map that has been stratted out through the roof, honestly. At this point, with only now the introduction of new operators, really, the meta on that map changes, really, and with some of the maybe some rather drastic changes to the operator balancing. But apart from that, really, it's all the same thing. It's all the same run on Oregon. It is, though, rather curious to me the fact that Theme Park was only two bans away from being picked and left out by Warriors as well. So the possibilities of maybe Warriors practicing and finessing with some of the newer map picks could be rather high as well.
I mean, look, all this banter, all this talk, why waste any more time? Let's crack on into it. Let's get into Oregon, of course. Let's see. Of course, we're waiting on the Warriors. It's probably KT, isn't it? She's holding us up, as always. Why, KT? Why? Is it worth the meme? No, it's not. Let's just start the game. But no, we're going to Oregon. We're going in with these new changes as well. And I think this is probably going to be the best showcase of attack repick of any of the maps that we see at the moment, especially the maps we see played tonight. On a map like Oregon, there are certain, stepping stones that are going to be set in place. You're going to be looking for that hard breach. You're going to be looking for a way to open up the site. You're going to be looking for a way to shut down those flankers, those roamers. And with attack repick, you get the drones in, you identify the site nice and early, you identify the picks that they're bringing. You can change things up. You can completely divert the flow. And I'm excited to see what the Warriors and Radical Rebels are going to be bringing to the table in that aspect.
Absolutely. Keen to see. Look, we already got quite a thorough showcase by Triara before, so curious to see what kind of a banger of a performance will Warriors be able to put up here as well. But look, yeah, it's just I'm just dying over the anticipation at this point, Panda, because Oregon is promising to be rather spicy.
The Countdown King, Alex, in my ear says we're about to jump on into the game, and we are, in fact, at that. Oregon, as we head to the ban phase, Cthulhu, I mean, do we see anything crazy, or I mean, realistically, it's Oregon. We should be seeing sort of, cookie cutter stuff, right?
Theoretically, yeah. Theoretically, we should be seeing just a much more kind of standardized, very much of a meta play. Flores out of the equation. That's pretty much understandable. That operator from Argentina is very, very powerful, especially with the utility that he does bring. The second one to beat Thatcher, yep, also very expected. One of those operators that we've already seen, actually, as a matter of fact, on the APEX South tonight's broadcast as well, where when the Chiefs were playing against Direwolves on a few occasions, the Thatcher was actually able to slow down certain utility usage, say something like Pulse, etc., and from there on, look, things definitely took a turn for quite a change. So with Thatcher though out of the equation, that none of that will be actually present in the game. With Valkyrie as well, not a whole lot of flexibility with the info gathering. So maybe resorting to somebody like a Mozzie to try to snatch a couple drones. Maybe introducing the Maestro a little bit more frequently. The bulletproof cameras also, as a matter of fact, got a buff quite a while ago. So plenty of ways still to go about it. So suppose we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's been a point where Mozzie and Mute have been any more relevant than they are with the changes coming in this season with attacker repick. If you can deny that information early, it reduces the chance that they will bring that operator pick that they need to get things underway and take the round for themselves. So I'm excited to see how that develops. Obviously, we're very, very new into the season. And yeah, look, no six pick for the defenders, which is, I mean, I know the game tended to lean towards defender sided, but it's going to be interesting to see just how much it skews it in favor of the attackers now.
Absolutely. Well, already looking at the attacker lineup, the introduction of Zero plus the double hard breach, including the Maverick, does poise to be quite a rather flexible lineup that RDC are bringing in on top of an Ayana as well. They should have a whole lot of issues with the information gathering against the the defenders, whereas on the side of the defense, a relatively kind of just a comfort pick of the operators has been introduced. The Malusi to slow down the push into the actual site, the Cade for the breach denial, Smoke for the plant denial, and then Cripsty and Sav on the on Womai and Jaeger respectively, just to deny the projectile usage. So overall, just a very well sorted out roster.
While you were saying that, I noticed there is no breach denial on Attic Wall at the moment. They do have a Caden play, which maybe indicates to me that the Warriors are 100% accepting the fact that the chances are Attic is going to be taken, but they know that they're going to look to fight from a different position. And you can see already we've got Beans and Time for Pie down in kitchen together, playing a bit of a dual roam below the site, so a vertical extension below. And in fact, there's a pretty heavy extension commitment on the whole here in Oregon.
A rather peculiar setup, to say the very least. Obviously, an attempt to deny the vertical play from below with the frag grenades, which will be diverting the attention of RDC rather heavily, as we can see, but that doesn't slow down the hard breaches either, which could be rather problematic further down the line. Breaches have already done. Mystique, though, might just get hunted here if she won't be too careful.
Crips looks to get aggressive onto the Attic Wall as it was being opened up there by Mystique. Time for Pie below. Spots the gun barrel. That could be a big kill, but no. Unfortunately, the concrete banister stops any shenanigans. Okay, KT was on the rotate, looking to try and shoot through the Maverick holes, but it's not to be. Mystique is being a little bit bullied right now. She will keep herself alive. Nothing going to be taken whatsoever just yet. Mike, KT, look at... Oh! Well, clip that,
that's
KT!
rather unfortunate.
We're not letting her live that one down.
That is rather unfortunate. Well, regardless, though, of the outcome, she will be picked back up, as much of a potato play as it was. She still gets to live, albeit with a slither of HP. For Radical Rebels, though, this could be big.
Carries on, can you put Court in 4K in chat, please? I want KT to know that we saw that.
Oof. Unfortunate out there. Well, Swings do come about already with Sav and Cripstein going down to the unfortunate demise for RDC, though this is a phenomenal opener as it stands.
Oh.
But Aussie does bite back and rather heavily. Psycho to take a very big L, so does Speem as well. And just like that, NZW just managed to equalize the player count rather rapidly.
Unfortunately, Meep's caught looking the wrong way on Sledge. The plant going down. Aussie, can she deny? But no, it's time for Pi. Shutting down Mystique, she loses her life. Yeah, sorry, no, it was Aussie losing her life there to Aussie Ash on the rappel. Spartan walks on in, debut match for the team. Finds the kind of time for Pi, denies it. Beans, can she deny the plant? Yes, she can.
Big.
Massive Nitro Cell from Beans. Leaves it up to Spartan, the newest member of this Radical Rebels roster. Beans has to rotate in. There's no angle to try and deny the plant, so it will come down to the 1v1 clutch in the post-plant stun towards top white. Spartan going to take out those ADSs. Does she know that Beans is coming in from behind? The audio cue should be big. Rotated through games into Dorms, but Beans wins it, and the Warriors will claim round number 1.
Hey, wish. Beans just absolutely bring a devastating L there to Radical Rebels, and just they were unable to just connect that shot. That was just genuinely unfortunate outcome for Spartan, but look, overall a solid beginning to the matchup in general. Radical Rebels nearly being able to push this all the way and being able to make it a 1v1 certainly is already a good start. Much better though from what we've seen in the first matchup, but again, first round, first match, the rust is coming off.
What a round to kick things off here in the second match of Play Day 1 on the main broadcast. And look, you wouldn't want to have it any other way, of course. Going into the second round, we're straight down to the basement. No surprises there whatsoever. And look, Psycho picking up the Jackal after that first round. Understandably, given how much damage Time for Pi did.
Oh yeah, Jackal is going to be a must pick, really, given the fact just and how much damage has been really dealt to the overall attack of Radical Rebels. And unfortunately for Radical Rebels as well, maybe it's not even about the Jackal investment. It's more so maybe the need to have some sort of a flank watch utility that, unfortunately for them, they didn't really have in any shape or form. They just flat out assumed that, well, nobody's going to flank them from behind, from the armory stairs, and, well, they paid for it rather dearly, which in return, well, meant inability to acquire any further points for that round. But in saying that, though, they were still able to bring it back rather well from the mid-round deficit. And that is quite a heavy fortification, I have to say, from NZ Warriors, and maybe a consideration about just flat out rotating all of your squad will be definitely a much better choice, rather than trying to just completely tough it all out utility-wise.
I mean, this is a team that has been forged in the absolute crucible of Rainbow Six Siege in ANZ. And the fact that they won last season, understandably. Now coming into the season, they're looking to defend that title. And the Warriors, you can never count them out of a fight, even in the 1v1. Even in a position like Beans was in just then, you never say that it is a done deal. And she proved exactly why. So, I mean, Radical Rebels, they're going to have to bring something fresh to the table, they're going to have to dig deep if they want to take this map away from them.
Oh, absolutely. Quite a fair few things will need to be done, corrected, and sorted. Aussie's positioning here is actually quite perfect, given the fact that the table that is right by the sandbags is working out rather well. Psycho's unfortunately having a stroke there, and really, well, after all that, still manages to land a very clean shot, which does shut down Aussie rather quickly.
It seems the tables have turned, as they would say. But right now, with the player advantage, the Radical Rebels need to keep this train moving. They don't want to slow down. They risk losing some of those key positions. And we saw what happens if they delay and aren't quite covering their angles. Time for Pi was able to get that magnificent flank off through Armory Stairs. So they need to keep that train moving forward. And Meeps pushing down into Freezer. Wants to start pressuring the site from an alternate angle. It's exactly how you want to be approaching the site. You don't want to force all your tools in through that same basket. And Meeps, unfortunately, in forcing down through Freezer, has been met with some resistance.
Albeit it still didn't lose too much of the HP, and it still keeps it. Well, I say that it was a clean play by Time for Pi, playing off those boxes, absolutely shutting down the push, but it's still 2 more players present there, and the angles are clean. Psycho does find yet another opener, which does allow RDC push even further through the freezer.
4 versus 3. Radical Rebels in a great spot to take this one away, but with 25 seconds remaining, they will have to push the envelope and force the issue right now. Psycho wants to trigger that Banshee, does get it cleaned up. Beans in the hallway, waiting for that push to come on through. The toxic canisters as well, delaying that push through laundry. Crips falls. 2 versus 3 as Sav picks up the kill on a Spartan. It's all starting to come apart. Beans down. It is going to be a clutch for Sav. Can she do it? 1 kill. It's down to the 1 versus 2. Can she get it? No, unfortunately. It's going to be a bit of a whiff. The P10 Ronin, not enough ammo, sees the backpack. Shots through, down to the 1v1. Mystique on the plant. Can she do it, Sav? It's a quad, and it will be the defuse. How, in 2 rounds, have they been able to pull that out back-to-back?
Bomb diffuser disabled by
Eesh.
defender mission successful.
So many just unfortunate turnouts there for RDC.
Oh no! Oh
Rather
no!
unfortunate.
The Warriors have clipped and shipped at Cthulhu. It's on the timeline officially. KT caught in
boy.
4K.
Yeah. Look, rather unfortunate there. what happened to both KT and to what happened to RDC. Second round in a row, though. It seems like NZW are able to completely catch RDC off guard, come from where they least expected, it seems, and just get those basically free frags, which puts it a little bit of a confusion, because I can understand, obviously, the first round. Okay, a little bit of an unfortunate turnout, didn't have the flank watch, didn't have utility, whatever. That's fine. First round jitters, all good. Second round, few alarming signs starting to creep in. The fact that after so many whiffed shots, as Sav pointed out herself in the chat as well, not being able to coordinate, hey, you need to get off either the plant and frag out, or turn around and get the frag. Something just didn't connect in the comms there, it seems, and something that will possibly need to be addressed later down the line, which could be a problematic thing for RDC. Yes, they have a good set of coordination. They managed to make their way onto the site really, really well, and the fact that they have managed to get the plan 2 times already as well already shows the signs that there is plentiful amount of progress, and RDC are certainly working their way up, but then you see them falling to these kind of trivial issues, and from there on, it kind of pops up a question, well, where's the problem?
Well, I mean, look, it's also worth remembering Radical Rebels are facing up against a team of arguably Women's League veterans. I mean, they are sort of the players that have had maybe not necessarily the most experience in terms of longevity, but the most success on the whole across these players. They've consistently placed highly. They've consistently played well. So, I mean, yes, it was always going to be a bit of a challenge, but I mean, the way that Warriors are bringing it back in those clutch situations, the 1v1s, 2 rounds in a row to bring it back, 1v2 even in that second round. I mean, Radical Rebels, I'd say they need to slow it down, but I think that's maybe their problem a little bit. They need to ramp things up a little bit. They need to get a little bit more aggressive and get up in the Warriors' face.
Yeah, absolutely. Needing to keep up that consistent pressure that they have been showing in the early stages of the round and the mid-round as well. They need to keep bringing that during the end phase of the round. Just keep on applying that pressure. Don't, instead of holding some of the angle, maybe try to go for a swing, albeit, again, that may be a completely counterproductive kind of argument, but still something needs to really change in their approach. And for Warriors, so far, they've been really good at acknowledging that, hey, they just pace down. We can literally just go and flank them around and call it a day. Psycho on the solo push, but with a live drone, could actually do quite a fair bit of damage. As it seems like for now, for Warriors, well, they're not really too puzzled about, well, any kind of impending doom.
Beans, unfortunately, whiffing a little bit on the rotate there, as it is a bit of a vertical extension defending this meeting kitchen site. I mean, look, it's the traditional setup, but all of a sudden, the Warriors have all dipped down onto that first floor. They've rotated themselves back. The only player not on the first floor, it being Aussie, of course, it seems, sitting over towards the entry to Trophy. Right now, Radical Rebels are looking for something, looking for an opening. In Psycho, you can see it deep down in the basement on the hunt, looking to clear out any aromas, but there's no real super deep roam coming out of the Warriors.
Yeah, nothing too big or too specific, really. They are just looking to just play it out by ear. Psycho unfortunately gets caught off guard by Time for Pi, albeit quite a heavy trade of HP does get involved here. But regardless of that, losing out your Jackal and Psycho being kind of one of those big initial aggressors is going to hurt the RDC lineup quite substantially.
Mystique starting to open up some of those angles in towards Attic. They have to rotate through, and the mute gemmer should be cleared out. But we're seeing the new Goyo Cthulhu. I didn't really touch on it during the prep phase. The new Det packs coming into play, no longer on the shields. So you got to you be a little bit more creative, but it can also be that much more devastating, given that the flames do last longer, and you can put them in a number of different positions. Unfortunately, you can't put them on the roof. We were talking to someone earlier, and they said if you could put it on a roof, it'd be absolutely absurd. But I mean, right now, those Det packs could do some real work in the coming seconds.
Absolutely. A whole new way of just slowing things down, not really needing to be present there, and maybe even an alternative to playing somebody like a Smoke is certainly a phenomenal opportunity. Time for Pi, interestingly enough, still wants to keep on holding the angles, and the main emphasis here is actually being done still on the push to the top floor, but finally already abandoned, and finally we are starting to see some breaches happening.
Meeps aggressing through Attic, does find Aussie, who was playing there earlier in the round, and unfortunately will fall there, bringing it back to the 4 versus 4. Time for Pi tagged up the way she is. The advantage is heavily in favour of Radical Rebels, but the clock is not going to be working for them solidly at the moment. Meeps still trying to cover from the hatch above. Beans there, Crips as well, but Meeps with a magical nade does take out Sav. Meeps drops into the toxic canister, will fall. A quick flurry of kills. It does end up going the way of Radical Rebels, but time, it's not there, but the deny comes the way of Beans. Time for Pi was just the bait. What a kill!
Wow. Warriors just absolutely stomping their opposition. A bug for Ash, though, is rather unfortunate. Fingers crossed, though, that something could be sorted here, and we'll be back to that match sometime rather soon, hopefully, fingers crossed. That does give us a moment to really admire, I suppose, yet again, of what's been happening with Warriors, because yes, they're not the perfect team. They don't finish all the rounds with a flawless performance, but in those very last moment situations, they just somehow managed to literally just yoink the round win away. I mean, first round it was a 1v1. Second round it was just yoinked by Sav. This now, Time for Pi is just doing all that work. It's rather huge.
It was literally like the perfect storm of unfortunate events there for Radical Rebels that cost them that round. I mean, so you had Meeps, who was covering Attic, drops into a toxic canister while also being tagged without realizing that there was still a player upstairs, which Beans was there to cover. Actually, no, I think it may have been Sav by the end of it. But there was still a player covering through the hatch, and the time wasn't there on their side. And because they lost that coverage, Time for Pi was just bait, 100%. It was literally the call would have been, bum rush the stage, I'm looking for the angle. They found the angle, the time had already run dry, and they pick up the round. But 3 rounds in a row where it has come down to the dying moments and come down to a clutch. I mean, look, Radical Rebels are so close. They are so very, very close to making it work. Unfortunately, they just aren't giving themselves enough room to handle the dying moments of the round with a clear mind. It's coming together as a panic.
Yeah. Panic definitely feels like the right way to really describe this. Is they kind of trying to pace themselves down after finally getting the breaches, finally finding those openers, which feels like initially them just going, yes, we got the opener, go. The moment they stop trying to get the plant, all of the comms kind of feel like they just drown out. And during that whole chaotic kind of moment, this is where New Zealand Warriors just have the perfect timing and just yoink it all away, which feels something that, again, could be redeemed rather quickly, but usually the easiest things, or rather the ones that seem to be the easiest ones, are the hardest ones to fix. So we'll have to see how will things really work out further down the line. But yeah, 3rd round in a row to be lost out like this, definitely a few thoughts of concern, let's just say, starting to creep in about RDC, at least in their first week of performance. So, look, again,
I mean, the
first
fact that
week
it's come
jitters
that close
possibly is
against the
just that.
last stage champions.
That is true.
I look, I think there are both positive and negatives to take away from these rounds, but I mean, unfortunately, not being able to pick up a point so far. They've still got 3.5 rounds. They've still got another half to go after that. So there is still a possibility that Radical Rebels can turn around that momentum and get themselves on the board very, very soon. Hopefully, this rehost will be done and dusted very, very soon, and we can look to get back onto it. But 3 rounds, 3 very, very tight closes. I mean, so we've seen, dorms, basement, now meeting hall, kitchen. We're going to be heading back to dorms more than likely. What do you want to see changed, do you reckon, Cthulhu, for their Radical Rebels to give themselves the best shot to pick up around here?
Look, honestly, at this point, they need to either completely dedicate to full send, but they need to full send it from the get-go. They can't really afford themselves yet another one of those rounds where they are forced to play for the final 20 to 10 seconds for their plan to go down. They need to ensure that they have a time buffer. So say their first planter goes down, they will have a moment to pick the diffuser back up, reposition, get the plan down and sort it properly, or rather go for a refrag. And this kind of thing that needs to be sorted out and addressed immediately. So that involves, first of all, your drone economy, how you're using drones and how thoroughly you scout out, and then making sure that you making that split-second decision as to, do you want to keep on dedicating to that one position that you initially went, or do you want to go for a firm and prompt rotation? And this is something that they did practice in round number 3, where they did spot the very heavy setup in the bunker and then bailed out to a whole new position. But at that point, at the tower, you looked at all their positions, all grouped up, bunched up together on the tower stairs, and they kind of waffled for what felt like an eternity there. And from there on, kind of maybe a decision needed to be done. Maybe use the Maverick to open up a couple positions on the stage wall to get rid of whatever the breach denial utility that there was. Open up a few punch holes, quote-unquote punch holes in the reinforced wall into the attic. Hold your angles there, hold the flank, because you would probably know by then that there is going to be some presence upstairs. And from there on, well, Bob's your uncle.
Well, Bob may be my uncle, but we are going back into the game right now. Ironically enough, I do have an uncle named Bob. And okay,
Hey.
So we've already had the call. KT says don't watch, which means we are going to be watching. This is going to be an
proceeding to
interesting
watch. Look, I mean, we're back to the kids and master bedroom, which was a side where Beans heroically defended in a 1v1 against the planted already position and managed to do it rather well. The rest of the team was also able to hold out quite well, and I'm curious to see what kind of change we could be seeing here, given the fact that, well, surely New Zealand Warriors don't just bring out literally the same setup like they did before. Surely it's going to be something different, because otherwise Radical Rebels will just be able to read into that setup and just play around it. Surely.
Well, maybe not. I think a lot of it comes down to just how well things go for KT. Because last time she attempted the defense, she was her own worst enemy. But right now, fresh in the round, she hasn't lost a single point of health. She still has both her impact nades, though, so the team might be a little bit, just sweating minorly.
Possibly. Well, time for Pile ready on the big lurk, hoping to find some early damage onto some of the aggressors' default cameras. Yep, there we go. Shot and sorted. Psycho doing her job. For now, though, well, it's a calm and steady play so far by Radical Rebels. They obviously are starting to open up the attic, which is a good start. Cripsty, though, getting the better of Meeps. That is not what you want to happen to your sledge in the early stages, because that is a very expensive set of utility lost completely in the source for the remainder of the round. And, well, it leaves all the frag grenade utility in the hands of either Psycho and Mystique. Mystique can make it work. Psycho, though, her utility needs to be possibly somewhere else, unless they are dedicating completely to the push through attic, at which point, well, it's going to be more so a question about the min-max.
Min-max, I mean, look, speaking of min-max, that could have been a lot worse. They could have lost Mystique in that engagement rather than Meeps.
That is true.
Ideally, you want to keep your Maverick in play when you're trying to open up the attic wall, but Psycho pushing on through. He's probably going to struggle to find any real use out of these frag grenades for the moment. They're going to commit Aussie Ash to that position to burn through some of that utility. Then KT, we'll see it get aggressive, but will be full white screen, so pushed off the angle for now. Aussie Ash will continue to burn that utility as the reposition from Psycho. Frag grenade goes in, but it's eaten once again. Unfortunately, not going to connect onto anyone.
Rather unfortunate turnout, though. Meanwhile, time for Pi once again on that flank. The drones are finally there, so RDC are learning of their mistakes. The flank watch is certainly there, but the default cameras will be relaying plenty of information, plus the bulletproof cameras. With 37 seconds to go, they are falling into yet another very similar mistake. Barely any time buffer, no breach in the walk-in closet wall, and from there on, it is looking rather dire, with Spartan already taking a chunky amount of damage.
But Psycho towards top pit there, looking to get aggressive. It's Aussie Ash to find Aussie, ironically enough, but traded back immediately. So that the player advantage still in the favor of the Warriors. They've lost the smoke, unfortunately. They lose two in quick succession. A third as KT rounds out the round with a triple. And the Warriors, this time it's not by tooth and nail, it is by leap and bound.
Oh, man. Rough times for RDC. 4-0 scoreline. Look, we've already seen one from Triarai, a 7-0, which was in a very dominant fashion on Villa. Could it be that Warriors will be repeating the very same turnout as well and making a 7-0 run? Albeit, obviously, I would imagine RDC would do their absolute darn best to not make it so, but so far the trend kind of been dictated by the Warriors very thoroughly, and something that maybe for Radical Rebels, one of the VODs that they will need to study rather thoroughly, given the fact that the 20-second meta has started dissipating quite a while ago. And yes, whilst it's still very workable, you do need to make sure if you are leading very heavily into it, you are pushing yourself every round to the absolute limit. Now, in the case of RDC, the way how they've been playing, they should be cranking up their aggression to the absolute maximum. They need to be swinging. They need to be the ones to be knocking on the doors, not the opposite way around. And for Warriors to say, "Hello, would you like to talk about your extended warranty?" It should be RDC doing that.
Indeed, it should. But I mean, I think this is the adaptation showing. The first 3 rounds, it was literally just by the skin of their teeth that the Warriors put it out. Not for lack of skill or lack of anything, just Radical Rebels were able to match them for the most part, and it came down to the clutch situation. That 4th round, the Warriors, they seem to have gauged what the Radical Rebels are bringing. They absolutely shut it down. They saw them through the round. And I think if Radical Rebels don't adapt onto that adaptation, they could find themselves, yeah, like you said, shut out 7-0.
Absolutely. Already attempts to just the utility dump straight onto the double door of the bunker is being attempted here. Sav has the position to go for a crossfire swing from Time for Pi as well. A triple crossfire, as a matter of fact, which does force RDC to completely switch things around. As a matter of fact, completely abandon the whole idea of even trying to push through that, and instead an attempt to get the breach possibly on the hashes and go through the push onto the tower stairs. But in saying that, already a minute and 10 seconds has been already drained out, which means, well, a lot of things, as a matter of fact. Namely, well, time management is going to be the big question. Obviously, losing out just a minute is not as tragic, but with half a round to go, breaches need to be starting to go down rather than just holding angles and waiting for the aggression to come from Warriors.
That's exactly it. And RDC will start to get themselves in, start to move on towards the site, of course. Drone economy looking a bit bleak right now. Only the 4 remaining, the minute 17 in play. Sav going to be tagged as you can feel the hesitation from the Radical Rebels. They don't want to push on just yet. Spartan tagged just outside in bunker. This crossfire that we saw established early is already paying dividends. It's causing that halt in momentum from Radical Rebels. They don't want to push in. They don't want to lose resources. And unfortunately, they don't have that luxury.
Exactly that. Well, already speaking of the resources, mainly the human resources, Sav does go down to the hands of Mystique. That is a phenomenal opener already, with Beans losing quite a fair bit of health as well there. This is possibly the round that RDC could take rather quickly, but the swings need to come about. Meeps needs to keep on pushing. She needs to be the one to be the opener, but as it stands right now, the positional advantage is still huge. Cripsty already finds one onto Mystique. Another swing could be coming about. That could be the absolute round ender there. And once again, RDC stalled out.
Still held off the angle. They can't force the issue just yet. But at 4-4, this is doable. With 12 seconds, though, less doable. KT with a big kill onto Spartan as the push through from Bunker comes.
Ooh.
1 for 1 once again as the follow-up is there. 6 seconds. 5. It's not enough time for them to get in. It's not really working. Meeps for 1. It's down to Beans. All she has to do is play the clock, and she does just that. Doesn't overforce the angle, even with a player in her face. It is going to be another Warriors win there. 5 in a row, Cthulhu, and that last one, I mean, even more so than the others, was a clincher.
Yeah, look, this one basically was hanging on a split-second moment where you could see on just under a second remaining on the timer, the bullet traces starting to fly right up by the head of Beans, which would have been rather deadly if another second was allowed to happen, but that was not the case. Meeting Hole in Kitchen is, though, going to be the final round of the defense for New Zealand Warriors on their half. And look, so far, solid performances, albeit certain things could be really sorted out and cleaned up. But now I'm kind of starting to think about, say, Vodafone Warriors versus Triarai. Now, we've seen already the sheer aggression from Triarai, their ability to refrag, their ability to go for those quite full send plays. Now, pair that against NZW's defense so far on Oregon, it feels like two outcomes could really happen. Either we would see the IQ of Triarai completely shut down and completely denied of any kind of entry, and from there on Triarai will kind of be forced to readapt, and from there on kind of New Zealand Warriors would have the edge. Or if they play the very similar game how they played against Radical Rebels, well, Triarai could really run away with a dub. And this is something that we haven't really spoken lightly about, really, especially in the previous seasons. Last season, we were thinking maybe there's going to be some sort of upset storylines. In this season, Season 7, we could possibly see that upset come through rather early.
It's early, yeah, like you said. I mean, there's a possibility for anything to come about, but I think a lot of this just comes down to level-headedness in those clutch moments. And I think that it just speaks to the Warriors' experience that they've had in this league and how much they've played in competitive Rainbow Six Siege and ANZ. That they've been there so many times before. They know how to handle the dying moments of a round, and they will back themselves 100% of the way when it comes to those clutch moments. And Radical Rebels, they haven't quite had that experience just yet. They're still getting there. And I think, given time, they could 100% be a force to be reckoned with. But right now, I think this is just experience shining.
Scusi, nearly died there. Yeah, definitely. The experience is certainly popping through rather clearly here from New Zealand Warriors. Just the sheer prowess, understanding of each of one of the situations. Certainly doing just about the right thing, and something that will be needed to be kept up, but Psycho does able to find at least the trade, so we're back to a 4v4. With half a round to go, the diffuser has been dropped in the worst possible position, so Aussie will be the prime target right now for RDC to take care of.
That is truly unfortunate. Meeps falls as well. Aussie on a bit of a tear right now, wants to catch up to the rest of her team in terms of the frags. We'll look for another swing. Unfortunately, it's just not going to land where she needs it to. Takes a bit of damage. We'll back off for now, heading to the final minute of the final round of the first half. So the tension's mounting just a little bit.
Sure are. The tensions are indeed mounting, and it could be a rather problematic turnout if RDC won't be able to find any sort of opener. Once again, the timing is just unfortunate. Left, right, and center. Psycho losing for literally no return all of her HP. Time for Pi finds Aussie Ash, and well, it's all down to Spartan and Psycho. Spartan does manage to find a refrag, but again, 26 seconds to go. The diffuser has been retrieved though, so we are already on a much better position. But again, the smoke grenades are going to be a problem. Same position to deny. A shot coming about. Spot is there. 12 seconds. Psycho in a 1v3 with barely any HP. Once again, that is an L.
5 seconds to go.
Unfortunately, it just doesn't have the health to commit. Sees KT through the rotate, will not find the kill as KT decides to back off. Warriors 6 rounds on the fly. A flawless half for them so far, but I mean, that just doesn't do it justice. Flawless is not the word to describe it, because it was a real battle of attrition to get to this point.
Absolutely. Whereas when we first looked at the first round, it was a rather dominant performance. The majority of our talking points were kind of mentioning Triari for the majority of it, but the way how RDC, despite the scoreline 6-0, rather unfortunate as it is, but it has been a very close matchup, I have to say that, and it's something that is worth mentioning. RDC have been doing quite some work. It's just unfortunately for them, things just not looking too promising yet. So say comes week 2, week 3, I'm rather confident in saying that we could possibly see a much cleaner performance from RDC comparative to week 1. Whereas on the side of NZ Warriors, look, they're taking it at their own pace. They not really showing too much of their actual strats, their actual approach. So in saying that, they just doing a perfect job.
Honestly, I'm just excited to see that dash towards the end of the group stage, where likely we are going to see the Warriors float towards the top. They're a team that, I mean, they're coming in to defend their title, of course. They're going to be one of the favors to take first seed going into the playoffs. But they're already, like, you can tell, so many teams that could take second through fourth. And I think that is going to be a huge battle coming into the later weeks of the stage.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a rather huge battle close to the conclusion of the regular season, which I am definitely quite keen to see as to what could be performed by either one of the rosters. In saying that, though, round number 7 match point, Warriors looking to try to push this into a 7-0 victory and could keep on contesting that top position out here so far, but curious what RDC could really bring it out. The only difference that we are seeing here is obviously the introduction of the alibi for Psycho, but Time for Pi from below, making this an absolute nuisance to really defend, leaving not a whole lot of really safe zone really for the defenders to really play around, and already quite a little bit of a tickling damage on Spartan will be ensuring that the mute player won't really get a whole lot of rest.
Yeah, just playing, it's dancing around right now, just trying to keep themselves out of danger. Time for Pi, though, not going to make it easy for them. Crips opens the round up with a frag grenade. Mystique, ironically, again, Jaeger falling to a frag grenade. It's not something you never really want to see as a defender, but right now, that player advantage could quickly spiral out of control if there isn't something done to equalize it. We are heading to the second half of round number 7 as well. Aussie Ash, I think, is just thanking her lucky stars that this hatch is reinforced.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, it's been a rather fortunate that no harm came that way, and something that will need to be kept up maybe for the later date. See what could be, how could that position be improved? Maybe some extra roaming game downstairs, in a similar way how Warriors did before, could be the better choice of play. But look, for now, 5v4 with 47 seconds to go. This could be a problem that Warriors could fall into in a similar way as Radical Rebels, but the Ying Candelas do come about, so this could be an interesting outcome.
Those are some great smoke grenades to cover, but unfortunately Psycho swings into the middle of the site and shuts down Aussie on the plant. It's going to be a complete funnel on into the site, tucked into the corner. Sav finds Spartan, but it's traded back. Psycho hitting some big shots. Beans there, shuts it down finally. Top white stairs, this cover has to be big, but the plant is secured. And it will be a 2 versus 3 in the post. Radical Rebels to try and bring this one back. Aussie Ash, unfortunately, just gets absolutely obliterated. Time for Pi wandering through. Meeps, unfortunately, cannot do much more. The Warriors a quick 7-0 to close out play day 1.
A much cleaner attack, as a matter of fact, Billy. With the way how Warriors just performed, they knew exactly where to push. They had it on a really well-coordinated manner. And, well, Ying certainly made things a whole lot easier as well to go get into the site. Very well done, though. New Zealand Warriors sorting themselves out with a clean 7-0 victory, and you can see the disparity of the frags as well throughout the whole of New Zealand Warriors team is much closer, apart from Typhoon Pi, obviously sitting on a double digit, but regardless, clean deal, clean play. Unfortunate turnout, though, for RDC, given the fact that they legitimately showed a solid effort. It's been a solid attempt from them to try to push each and every round to the absolute maximum. Yes, they had some good turnouts, and they had some rather, well, unfortunate turnouts. The main thing, really, the main draw from all of this, I would imagine, will be obviously work on something like a flank watch and then the time management. But apart from that, exclude all of that, they are looking like a very able roster to take this for a possibility to run themselves to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, we saw like the entire narrative of that map was rounds like 1 through 3. Warriors were pushed to the absolute brink. Warriors finally gauged what sort of resistance they were facing. They changed things up. They took the round commandingly. Radical Rebels then shifted beyond that and made them work for the next couple of rounds. And then in closing, the Warriors, they knew exactly what they needed to do. They pushed on through. They got aggressive. They got up in their faces, and they took the round and closed it out. So, I mean, it shows... it shows innovation. It shows initiative. Radical Rebels knew what they needed to do in those moments to change things up and sort of bring some control back. But like you said, yeah, it came down to flank watch. It came down to time management. If they can tighten those things up, and they've got a number of weeks left in the group stage to do that, they're going to be an absolute powerhouse roster. And there is a chance, and I'll be honest, the Warriors may not be able to defend the title once we see that final form of Radical Rebels come through.
Absolutely. Look, yeah, it's best to find those kind of hiccups in the first couple weeks of the competition to be able to start ironing them out in between the matchups and in between the match days. And this is a perfect opportunity, yeah, for RDC to find out these kind of mistakes. Look, it's better now than later. And yeah, I'll definitely agree with you here, Panda. It's close to the conclusion of the regular season. They could be an absolute just scary roster. But in saying that, New Zealand Warriors, they are looking still pretty good and much more flexible on the solo play rather than what we've seen as playing as a group previously.
And speaking of looking good, we do have our final results for the evening. Of course, all 4 matches that were played. We have those results for you now on your screen. Not the deepest of runs in play day 1 to start things off here in Season 7. The deepest map, obviously, going 10 rounds, that being Big Brain Esports taking on Altered Edge. Otherwise, we had 2 7-0s, Triari and Vodafone Warriors picking those up, and Vertex took down Benchwarmers in a 7-1 fashion. I believe it was 3 Villas, and then the 1 Oregon that we saw was the Vodafone Warriors versus the Radical Rebels.
We got lucky.
Look, a strong start for the majority of our teams, but I would imagine that the 2 off-screen matches were very, very similar to the one we just saw, where the score doesn't necessarily represent the results that were played. I would imagine it was probably a little bit closer when it came round to round.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, I am quite curious how things went down with Big Brain Esports versus AE as well as the Vertex matchup, given just the results. But yeah, look, honestly, it's still in the early stages. For the teams that did, unfortunately for themselves, cop a loss tonight, it's just more so meaning that they now have a very solid piece of VOD material to really study and to figure out where things really did go wrong, whether it was just flat out losing to mechanical gunfights or whether it's positioning and timing. All the tools are there. It's more so now about self-improvement. And look, if all of the previous seasons were the indicator, teams could certainly bring this back and bring back from some rather unfortunate upsets in the earlier stages.
Yeah, I mean, look, it sets the stage for a decent run for a number of teams, but also a hell of a comeback story that could play out in the later stages of the groups as well. But I mean, look, it's week 1 under the belt, ready to go. Going into the second week, there's a lot that could come into play. There's a lot of, 7 days is a lot of time to make those changes and make those adaptations. So we could see a vastly different approach going into next week from a number of these teams.
100%. Keen to see who will be the one to claim the 4th spots going into the playoffs, albeit for now it's a little bit too early maybe of a talk. Apart from that, I'm rather curious with how Vertex will be able to really bring this back. Maybe say, well, return to the season 1 glory and absolutely roll the opposition, or possibly it is going to be kind of the more so the battle of multiple giants clashing by the conclusion of the stage. One will have to see.
Well, in closing out Play Day 1, of course, we must remember to thank our sponsors, Zhao Computer Alliance, Ubisoft, CQ Racing. Without them, it would be impossible to carry on this competition. And as we look to our standings for the end of the day, of course, seeing just who is in first place, because everyone knows that's all that matters. The Warriors, they do take it on round differential alone. I mean, actually, it'd be tied first, of course, Triari and Warriors. So both tied in first place in that round differential. Then Vertex in third, Big Brain Esports in fourth, Altered Edge, Bench Warmers in fifth and sixth, respectively, and Volpez and Radical Rebels tied in that bottom position. But it's only week 1. There are still several weeks to be played. There are still any number of results that could come out in that top 4 position by the end of this.
Absolutely. Keen to see how will this leaderboard really evolve, given the initial setup with both Warriors and Triari pretty much battling for the top position, whereas Vertex and Big Brain Esports so far kind of playing a bit of a game of catch up. But say comes week 2, we could be seeing a rather huge reshuffle. So I'm quite curious to see how will teams be able to really improve themselves, how will they be able to evolve from comparative to week 1, and well, from there on to see, well, who will even go for the flashier plays really even.
Well, it does bring us to the end of Play Day 1. Next week, you won't be seeing us. It'll be Proto and Spadoom taking over the reins to bring you all that exciting action going into Play Day 2. We'll be back for Play Day number 3. Cthulhu, we'll see them later. Good night.
Watch me now. Watch me now. Watch me now.
Effectively, no.
Everybody
Come
talk.
Repo! He's just watching.
I just get it done. Everybody talk. I just get it done.
closer. Don't need closure, 'cause I don't want it to end. Meet me in the back of the room, back of the party. Meet me in the back of the room, back of the party. Keep me closer. Don't need
just yet. This stillness is just a phase. I need to find my purpose again. It's been hard to keep my